Hello, this is Robert C. Anderson Jr., and this is the second video in the Weapons Master series. I'm a United States Marine, and whilst on active duty, my specialty was ordnance, both aviation and ground ordnance, as well as small arms. And as a retired Marine, my hobby is collecting weapons and shooting and putting together and taking apart all types of different weapon systems. In the previous video, we reviewed pistols, both revolvers, semi-automatics, samurai sword type edge weapons, as well as combat knives. And in this video, we'll be reviewing rifles and combat shotguns, specifically assault rifles. Now, remember, every weapon that you see here is registered with the federal government, and the two pieces of equipment that I have, principally a silencer and a short barrel pistol, both have ATF licenses. They're registered a Class 3 license with the ATF. Now, for those of you who are interested in getting a Class 3 license, this is for any type of a short-barreled weapon, silencer, or automatic weapon. For me, I had to go to the police department and get a sign-off from the chief of police, as well as background checks, fingerprinting, and lots of stuff like that. In addition, I had to go to the state police and have another background check and have the commander of the state police sign off on my application. Only then could I send it into the ATF and wait 6 months and $200 later in order to get my Class 3 license, one for the silencer and a separate one for the short-barreled rifle. And if you're curious as to what a Class 3 license looks like, let me show you. I'll just turn around, and this is a Class 3 license. There's your federal stamp and the application, and then on the other side you have a picture and all that other stuff. And you must have like that if you are going to have either a silencer, short-barreled weapon, or an automatic weapon. You can get in a great deal of difficulty if you do not. So please do your homework. All right, so we're going to reverse the camera, and the first one we're going to review is the short-barreled rifle. What this is really a 9mm pistol, which is a Glock 17, inside of a short-barreled rifle frame. It's called, as you see here, KPOS-G2, or Generation 2. And it slides and locks in, and the reason why it's called a short-barreled rifle, even though ostensibly it's a pistol, is because of this folding stock. If I did not have the folding stock on there, it would simply be a pistol with a frame on it. But that folding stock makes it a short-barreled rifle. In addition, I've got a reflex sight on the top on a Picatinny rail, as well as a tactical light on the side and a laser that are turned on with hand grips here. You can see that little laser with a hand grip. It's got a single point sling. In terms of ammunition, this is a 50-round drum that actually fits in the same well as a normal pistol magazine would fit. That's a 50-round drum, so that makes it a fair amount of firepower in a very compact form. It also is capable of doing a 30-round magazine, as well as a standard 9mm magazine. So that is the first of our weapons. The second is our trusty AK-47. This is a Yugoslavian AK-47. You'll notice the beautiful woodwork here on the foregrip, as well as the hand grip here. The stock is covered up a little bit by the cheek piece, which I like since it cuts down on the recoil. It's got your Picatinny rails on the side and the top. On the top I have a small scope. It's about a 4-power scope with a lit reticle. And it has a bipod on the front with a sling. Again, the AK-47 is an incredibly reliable weapon. It fires a 7.62 by 39 shell. It is the primary weapon of our adversaries because it's cheap, inexpensive. It's inexpensive and very well made and fires almost any condition. Drag it through the mud, water, doesn't matter. It'll still fire. Okay, so the next one we will review is a combat shotgun. This is called a Saiga 12. Saiga 12, which is a 12 gauge shotgun, and it has a similar construction to the. You will notice on the side, the safety looks very similar to an AK-47, a stamped receiver. And this has a hollow sight on it. It's covered right now. And it also has a shroud over the barrel for heat dissipation. So if you're doing a lot of firing, you don't burn yourself inadvertently. And it also has a tactical light and a laser that is turned on the foregrip. In terms of munition, this is a 20-round drum magazine. You can see two of them here, firing a standard 12 gauge, 3.5 inch shotgun shell. It will fire magnums, but I don't recommend it. So that is your Saiga 12 shotgun. By the way, here's what your 7.62 by 39, your AK-47 mag looks like. So the next in our series will be the Springfield M1A. Now the Springfield M1A is the same as the military M14 that I used in Vietnam in the 60s. I did all the refinishing of the stocks myself, and it's got a beautiful stock, again a cheek piece on it, as well as it's got a very nice 20 power scope. With this wheel right here is actually for the distance focus. It has a small knob inside, but because it's so tight, because you don't want it to move when you're firing, they put this on to give you extra leverage when you turn it. It's much easier to turn. It has a flash suppressor. It's gas operated, air cooled, semi-automatic shoulder weapon. And it has magazines that have 20 rounds per magazine, and this is a 7.62 by 52. You'll notice that that's larger shell than the AK-47, which is 7.62 by 39. So that is your Springfield M1A. That's more of a long distance weapon, particularly with that scope on it. Now coming along the side here, we see another combat shotgun. This is called an SRM 1216. SRM 1216, and what that means is this tube right here is actually a magazine. It will carry 4 rounds per tube, and there are 4 tubes in the magazine that you rotate with a lever. It has just a reflex sight on it because this is not something you would do long distance shooting with. 16 rounds is a pretty hefty load, and I actually have 3 magazines for this, so 16 times 3, and you can change those out virtually in seconds. And here is a bandolier. This is what a bandolier of 12 gauge shotgun shells looks like that you would reload your tubes from in your magazine. So that is your SRM 1216. Incidentally, that is a fairly pricey weapon in that the base price stripped down is around $2,400. Now, the next one here is very interesting. This is called a Beowulf 50 caliber. Now, there's a difference between the Beowulf 50 caliber and a 50 caliber BMG. The 50 BMG round is about 4 times the size in terms of the shell. in the case, but it's the same diameter on the bullet, being a 50 caliber. The 50 BMG is a long distance, both sniper weapon is primarily used for anti-materiel like vehicles and so forth, or very long distance shooting. This is on a standard 5.56 frame. So the lower is a 5.56, the upper is the 50 caliber Beowulf, and it's got this big flash suppressor here because it does have quite a kick to it when you fire it. And it has a red dot scope, and it does have these folding bipods, which are really, really nice. They fold up and out of the way if you're lifting it up. But that is your 50 caliber Beowulf rifle. Up to 200 yards, it's very effective. Past that, because the slug is so heavy, it drops very quickly. But then again, when you're shooting something like that, you're not going for distance. Now, this is the standard military go-to configuration for Marines, Army, and so on. This is your M4 carbine. It's a 5.56, or just about the size of a 22 with a large casing on it as a rifle round. And this has your Picatinny rail here. It's got a bipod that collapses, and these legs go into the bipod, and what you have is a foregrip. So that bipod doubles as a single point foregrip. It also has a tactical light on there, which you can see there. And that's just with the push of a button. Variable stock on the rear. This is because you may have a shorter arm length and you can move the stock in or out. This also has a Trijicon scope on it with a reflex sight on top of the Trijicon scope for CQB, or close quarter battle. The Trijicon scope does not have any type of a lit reticle using a battery as some of these others have. This tube that you see on top is similar to like a fiber optic tube, where light comes in a receptor and is funneled down that tube onto the lens, and you see a lit reticle inside the body of the scope, but it is not battery, it is solar powered. So that's really quite an interesting device. Most of our military people have these. Now, Marines I know have, they use these Trijicons quite a lot. And here is your, again, your standard 5.56 round, 20 and 30 round magazines. It's a very reliable weapon. It's a standard NATO round in the 5.56 and used by our military, mostly Army, Marines use these. Now, this is sort of the big brother of the ones that we've looked at before. This is a 223. However, this 223 has a long barrel, a 22-inch barrel, fluted barrel. You can see that twist. That means it's a fluted barrel. It has a silencer on it, or a sound suppressor, again requiring a Class 3 license. It also has a Russian low light and infrared scope on it. What you'll see here is the infrared light source. Let's say that in normal conditions, if it's a starry night or you have a moon out, you don't need to use it, since it's a low light, gathers the light, and it's that green looking field in front. But let's say that it's a cloudy night, no moon or no stars out, and there's nothing to gather the light. You can turn on your infrared light source. It doesn't show up very much at night, but yet to the scope, because it is a low light scope, that it will light up the whole field in front of you. This uses a standard magazine of 223 rounds, but this one is very, very long distance shooting because of the length of the barrel as well as the night vision. So this is sort of your night sniper type weapon. In addition, it's got the variable stock on the back to adjust for your ergonomics. And so that is it's kind of a specialty weapon, fun to shoot, but it's One thing a silencer does is you get a lot of blowback of your gases into your breech, and it makes for a very dirty breech because it does disperse the gases inside that cylinder there, and a lot of it leaks back into the receiver. So you get a lot more carbon in your receiver when you're using a silencer. So you've got to be careful if you're using one. Naturally, you have to have a Class 3 ATF license, but in addition, you have to clean your weapon very, very thoroughly because it will get all gummed up from that silencer blowback. So that is the, oops, I'll turn this sideways here. That is the combat shotguns and rifles and some of the equipment on them and some of the things that you can do to them, a little bit of information on them. I hope you found this interesting and educational. And if you want to know any more about any of these types of weapons, you can email me at rbobanderson, that's RBOBANDERSON, at CS, like Charlie Sierra.com, rbobanderson at CS.com. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. So I hope that this was entertaining and informative. Thank you very much.